How's everybody doing tonight? Good. I promise I'm not going to take away too long from the good music here and the food. I'm going to be really quick. But I do think we have a kind of an exciting little procedure we're going to do here today. We're going to kind of get a glimpse behind the scenes at JYJ Red Angus. This is a little different than even I've done, but it's not looking at his registered herd. It's at his commercial cattle. Something else about this group of cattle, they've never been genomics tested before until this year. So this is the first time. I want you to take a look at it, and as we're going through this little exercise, think about your own herd at home, because they're probably going to mimic those, right? It's not something that we've intensively told maybe, but let's look through them, and I'm going to kind of go over it with you as if I were looking at data on a herd, on a group of cattle for the first time. So my name is Matthew Studstill. I cover the southeast region for Neogen. Neogen, if you've never heard of us, is a genomics company, among other things. If you boil that down into a real simple definition, we're real good at taking a tissue sample and turning it into a lot of information about the animal that you send to us, right? And that's really exactly what we've done today. So you can go on forward on that slide. So I want to kind of introduce Igentity Beef, which is our commercial cattle, our commercial testing option for commercial cattle. What Igentity does, and what you see in your hand right there, is a 1 through 10 score on 17 different traits. 1 is typically worst for any given trait. 10 is typically best. And there's one caveat to that, and I'll hit that when we get there. But I kind of want you to take a look at that sheet in front of you, get a feel for it. So we went through the process and tested about 50 heifers. So you ought to see a group of 50 heifers with 1 through 10 scores on 17 different traits there. Everybody kind of seeing that? Makes sense? All right, go forward for me. What we did is we took tissue samples, thanks to our friends at Allflex, the guys sitting up there. We took tissue samples of these some odd 50 heifers here. We sent them into our lab, and then about a month later we got back the report that you have in your hands. So, where do I start? If I have a group of cattle that I really don't know much about, stop right there. I'm going to kind of look at the averages. I'm going to look at the averages, and I'm going to see maybe where this herd is today, where have they put their selection pressures, because we can kind of go through this data and start to see a picture, right? So when you test with Igentity, you're basing that animal that you send in off of our Igentity database. So you're putting yourself on a plane with a lot of other animals, so to speak. If you look at the entire Igentity database, all the animals that we've tested, each trait averages about 5, right? On a 1 through 10 scale, averages about 5. So what I wanted to go through is each one of Jim's heifers here, Jim Jessica's heifers, and I averaged that entire group. And I just see overall, based on the Igentity database, kind of where they line up. So look up there. I don't have the averages here. You have to look up at the screen there. Birth weight. Every one of those heifers on an average of the group was about a 5, just under 5. So about average on a birth weight. You'll go forward. We'll go through these pretty quick. Cavanese direct, go one more. Cavanese maternal, we're both just over half. I know that's hard to see, but just over average. So we can kind of deduce from this that Jim maybe has picked a little bit low birth weight bulls and selected a little bit for Cavanese, right? That makes a lot of sense, and we see that about everywhere. Docility, we're a little ahead of the ball game at 5.31 heifer prey. We start getting into a trait where we may have put a little emphasis, right? We're way ahead of the scoreboard on this one. So we've averaged a 6. So we're getting up into that elite type territory. So we can tell we put some selection pressure there. Milk's about average, that's good. Stayability, we're going to talk about down the road a little bit here, but we're about average for that. Anyway, now we're getting into some areas where we may have put some selection pressure with our bulls, right? So, and it makes sense, right? Because that's how we get paid. So we're getting up into that elite category with weaning weights, yearling weights, average daily gain, all well into the elite category on those. Scrotal circumference, really good. Residual feed intake, let's stop here just a second. Residual feed intake is a measure of efficiency. This is the one trait that we want a lower score on. Lower score better. As you can see, we're a little bit below average here on this score. Go ahead. Tenderness, well above average. Marbling, really good. Ribeye area is average. Fat, about average, a little better. Hot carcass, well above average there. So, out of this, now that I've averaged them all, I've kind of got a picture, right? I kind of got some strengths, and I've got maybe some areas we can improve. So, weaning weights, yearling weights, average daily gain, marbling, really, really good. I don't want to lose those either, because that's where I'm making a lot of my money, right? Where are two things we might take a look at and be a little better? Stayability, maybe. The likelihood she's going to be a productive cow in our herd to at least 6 years of age, pretty important trait. And that measure of efficiency, maybe we could improve there. So in my mind, what we think about next, can I improve those two things while not giving up my weaning weight, yearling weight, average daily gain, and marbling? Can we do that? And so with genomics, we do have the ability to try. So we can make a custom index here, and actually this is our maternal index. I know it's hard to see, but what an index allows you to do is put selection pressure on each trait and get one number at the end. So we can make a decision based on this index so that we're not picking on any one trait. If you can see that, you will see that I've put selection pressure mostly on stability and some on residual feed intake, which that measure efficiency. After I did that, I looked at our Igentity database. So based on that maternal index that I just created, I know that a 5.5 or lower is in the bottom 50%. If they got a 5.5 or higher on that maternal index, they're in the top 50% of all the animals tested on Igentity. So I did something, and I'm not saying this is what Jim and Jessica would do, this is just kind of for the exercise tonight. I pulled every heifer that was below a 5.5 on that maternal index. And I'm going to show you averages again, based on our index, of what happened. And I know you can't see that, but overall, the idea behind this was that we can, right? We can put selection pressures on those traits that we want and improve in those areas while not giving up our weaning weights, average daily gains, yearling weights, marbling, the areas that pay us now. We can improve traits like stayability, the likelihood she's going to be a productive cow for us down the road. So that's something that genomics can help us with today. So at the end of the day, click one more. We hope that all that group of black cows or red cows or whatever it may be start looking a little different to you when you get some genomics information back on them. It will help you make selection decisions. That second sheet that you have is nothing more than a parentage test. So we also, while we were running Igentity, we got back parentage on these animals. If they had a parent matchup, you'll see it on that supplemental sheet. The sire will be listed. If it's got a compared sires tab out front of it, that just means simply that there was the sire was not on file, so we couldn't match that one back up. So that comes as part of the Igentity test. And one more thing that Igentity, back one more there, allows us to do now, we can use these scores to help market these cattle, right? And if we test our heifer crop, we can also use the average scores that we get from them to help market our steer rows, right? So that's something that another reason, another way we can use genomics testing. So really, it's all about making progress in the right direction. We can do it faster with genomics, and it's time for the commercial cattlemen to start looking at your options that you have for commercial testing. It's not just a seed stock registered idea anymore. So appreciate it. If I can help you in any way, please let me know. Be glad to come help you start testing your animals. And with that, Jim, turning it back over to you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. So what we did was we used the tissue samples, and we've been doing this for a long, long time on our registered animals that we'll be selling, our bulls and heifers. We test every animal here at JYJ, but we had not been doing our commercial replacement heifers, so we did the whole entire heifer crop. And those heifers that y'all see the data that you've got the sheets on are our heifers that we're going to breed next month, that we're going to retain back here, and that they'll go into our commercial brood cow herd. So we understood the importance of DNA and genomic testing in our registered herd, and we were excited to find out, and Matthew coming on board at Neogen and having the opportunity to test all of our commercial replacement heifers is just going to help us make better decisions and add value to our feeder calves moving forward. It's easy to do, and Matthew will be glad to walk y'all through it, but we appreciate Matthew driving over from Abbeville, Georgia, and being with us and helping with the meal tonight. And with that,